Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. So today is Wednesday, middle of the week. So we got tomorrow to go, Friday, and then that's it for the markets, basically for the Bitcoin miners for this month of May. And obviously, Bitcoin also closes out on Saturday. So we only have a couple more days to go in the trading session. We'll see where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin didn't do so well today, neither did the miners. I think it was mainly because of the FOMC meeting today. We got the report on that. I'm not going to really talk about it. You guys probably already saw that, but it was basically the Fed's holding off on lowering interest rates, and hence we saw the markets were down today. Bitcoin was down. Miners were down because of it, I think. And we'll see where things go off tomorrow. So we'll take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin miners as well. We have a bunch of good news stories on Bitcoin adoption as well. We also have, we'll take a look at the miners' latest short data that we have on them. That got updated here just, I think, yesterday or today. So we'll look at that, and then we'll look at where the miners could possibly go. Bitcoin goes to 200,000. We're looking at the lower end ranges. And then we also have the higher end ranges possibly, if we get that lucky and they go that high. Okay, so we'll look at all that. We'll get into Q&A. We'll call it a day. And sorry for the late live stream tonight. I had to do some last minute shopping before the family vacation. And so we are here right now, rather late though. But as always, not financial advice for Tim only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And let's get into the stats and charts and everything else that we got here. So let's take a look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin finished out in the red today. It was down approximately 1.06%, closed at 107,119. We did hit a high of 109,344, so we went up and then we came back down. And we're in the green a little bit right now in the new day. We're up just a little bit, 0.35% at 108,197. So not too bad, right? We'll still, I mean, this still looks to me like we're trading sideways, accumulation phase basically for Bitcoin. We saw it back here, we saw it back here. Then we went up higher, so I think this is just a natural course of events here recently, at least. We'll see if that's going to be the case on it. I think it will be, though. Okay, Ethereum today was actually up pretty nice on the new day. It's up 3% right now. It was up even on the regular day. It was up. I didn't really track it, but it was up 0.76%. It's up 3% right now, so maybe that one's turning front run on Bitcoin a little bit here. We'll see. But the miners obviously didn't do too well today. Bitfarms down 8.26%. Was that part of Riot selling shares in it? Right, we talked about that yesterday's stream. Could be, definitely, possibly. It was like one of three that was, well, actually four that was down 8% or more on the day. BitDeer was down also 4.67% today. Cypher was down 6.16%. Cleanspark was down 7.61% today. It keeps coming back to that 100 simple day moving average and kind of bouncing off of that to actually close right on that right now. So that's acting as support, it looks like right now for that one. CORZ was down 4.43%. Hive was down 4.5%. Well, that reminds me, you do have news on Hive. They actually increased their hash rate even more. We'll talk about it. And they're generating a little bit more from HPCI business as well. So we'll talk about that. HUT was down 8.05% today. IREN was down 4.1%. Mara was down 9.61%. That one actually closed below the 100 simple day moving average. It did that the day before as well. This was on Friday. It had a nice bounce on yesterday, on Tuesday. But today we were down way again. Riot was down 8.32%. Also, Wolf was down 3.81%. MicroStrategy was down 2.14%. Galaxy was down 6.57%. GameStop, I don't know, I think, yeah, I got GameStop in here. GameStop actually bought some Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that as well. But they were down 10.5% today. So was this one of those things, buy the rumor, sell the news events? Possibly, not sure. Small miners were in the red for the most part, except for Mawson was up 6.4%. Argo was up just a little bit on that one. The ETFs were down quite a bit, 3% for BitQ. BKCH was down 6%. DAP was down almost 4%. WGMI was down 5.32%. So not a good day. But nonetheless, we do have a bunch of good news stories for Bitcoin still. And Bitcoin still is right now in the Q2 up 30% so far, 30.5%. In the month of May, it's still up 14.47%, which is better than April. Like I said, we still have basically Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So we got 3 more trading days left in Bitcoin here. We'll see how Bitcoin ends out the rest of the month here, whether it can squeeze out a 15% gain or maybe a little higher than that. We'll see in the next couple of days. But we're still going to be possibly in the green unless things really change drastically in the next 3 days, which I don't anticipate to see that happening here. Bitcoin ETFs, those continue to buy in. Yesterday we talked about BlackRock buying in as well potentially, and sure enough they did. They bought 409 million worth of Bitcoin here while Bitcoin price was actually going down. We'll see what that shows, what that looks like today, whether or not BlackRock actually pulled out a green day again for the rest of the ETFs basically. Because with BlackRock buying, Even when others are selling, BlackRock still continues to buy in and gives us a positive inflows of Bitcoin ETFs, basically, at that point. All right, here's a good stories that we do have here. This is from the Bitcoin conference here. They just broke the Guinness World Record for the most BTC payments in one day. History has been made. I think they made like over 4,000 payments or transactions in Bitcoin or something like that. And that, so that's great. Bitcoin's being definitely adopted there at the Bitcoin conference. Next is, this is also interesting here. Meta shareholders currently voting on Bitcoin Treasury assessment proposal to put Bitcoin on their treasury there. Meta has a ton of cash. It'd be interesting to see how much they would actually put towards it if it does pass through there. And we might see something. We'll see. So this is good news. Next here, huge breaking news. New York City mayor says he will be the first city in the world to issue a Bitcoin bond. Financial instruments backed by BTC are coming. This is massive. This would be the first of its kind, and definitely very interesting to see that this would be playing out. So a bond backed by Bitcoin, right? So you're basically saying Bitcoin's going to be going up higher. At least that's what you're forecasting, right? And then we'll see how much interest there is for a Bitcoin-backed bond. Also, I think that'd be kind of interesting to see. But nonetheless, more financial instruments for Bitcoin and things like that. All great news here. Next is Sweden's MicroStrategy's K33 just raised SEK 60 million to buy Bitcoin. Nothing stops this train, right? Companies continuing to buy more and more Bitcoin. New companies starting to buy Bitcoin as well. Next story here. Jet King has acquired 5.98 BTC for 617,000 per Bitcoin and has achieved a BTC yield of 31% 2025 as of today, basically. They hodled 21 Bitcoin acquired for 1.59 million at 75,000 per Bitcoin, roughly. Building blocks, right? They keep stacking. Other companies are stacking. More and more Bitcoin is taken off the exchanges and off of OTC desks. Supply crunch is going to be happening here in due course. Next, Vice President of the United States just said hundreds of millions of people will own Bitcoin. What a time to be alive. He didn't say it's going to be Americans, but maybe it's going to be Americans. But over, I think there's probably, I would have to look, but hundreds of millions, it's definitely doable, right? I don't know if we have that many people right now in Bitcoin across the globe, but we might. I'd have to look at the numbers. So, I mean, you know, Vice President's bullish on Bitcoin. Trump is bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. All of their cabinet people are bullish on Bitcoin. We got senators that are bullish on Bitcoin. This is all great news for us. Next here is Indonesian publicly traded DGHI just announced to buy 100 million of Bitcoin. This is wild, right? Companies buying like crazy. Everybody's fighting for that last million some Bitcoin that are out there that are going to be available in the next 120 years or so. So what does that mean for us? It means, well, Bitcoin price is going to go up higher. I mean, there's no way around it. As more and more companies start to put it on there, countries, sovereign funds, all that stuff. And then here, breaking, GameStop purchased 4,710 Bitcoin. They finally did it at a probably higher price. They didn't put down how much when they purchased it, but they have purchased it. So they could have bought it around 80-some thousand when they did the convertible notes. Right? Yeah. It was right around 80,000. They could have bought it back then. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. We'll find out when they did buy it. But they still have, I think, like $3 billion in cash that they could use for buying more Bitcoin here. So GameStop's on board as well, right? So great news here. And we got plenty of other news stories as well that were part of this, but I just wanted to keep it kind of late tonight because time crunch. It's getting late. I need to get sleep. You guys need to get sleep as well. We'll get into the miners here really quick as well. Hive Digital provided their update. They have reached 10 exahash or over 10 exahash of Bitcoin hash rate, and expansion progress accelerates. So this is all great news here. Hive has been doing really, really well when it comes to growth here recently. Much, much better than they have in the past few years, actually. So I'm really happy to see this is happening for them. And Hive is pleased to announce that it has surpassed 10 exahash per second of global Bitcoin mining hash rate, and is in the process has added 1 exahash each week for the last month. So nice job by the team there. And then as of today, Hive reports a total operating hash rate of 10.2 exahash and is ahead of schedule to reach its phase 1 objective of 11.5 exahash by the end of June 2025 with a global fleet efficiency of 20 joules per terahash. So that's great to see that. Hive continues to execute on strategic expansion toward its 25 exahash target for calendar year Q4 2025 and is working hard to maintain the cadence of rapid scaling. The company notes that the growth is fully funded. That's awesome to see, right? The growth there, I'm guessing to the 25 exahash is fully funded. So if we had dilution, the dilution should be done and over with, I would think. So that should help the stock going forward here, I would think, as well. And then they have an update here for the Buzz HPC business segment that they have. It has achieved 20 million annual run rate ahead of schedule. So the company is proud to announce that its high-performance computing subsidiary, Buzz HPC, has surpassed a key growth milestone, reaching 20 million annualized run rate revenue in its GPU cloud business. This achievement comes 1 month ahead of the company's target of June 2025, underscoring the successful execution of Hive's aggressive HPC expansion and strategy, which is also true, and it's great. Right? They have targets of, I think they want to get to like 100 some odd million potentially with the HPCI business. That's going to take them a while to get there, but they keep executing the way that they are. They might eventually get there. This is a quote from Aidan Kylek here, President and CEO of Hive, stated, "It is a monumental accomplishment for Hive to reach 10 exahash, and we are now producing over 5 Bitcoins per day. I am very proud of our team for executing. With what is remarkable is we have added approximately 1 exahash of Bitcoin mining capacity on a weekly basis, exceeding our previous guidance to bring on 1 exahash every 2 weeks. We have done so consecutively for the last month. Our country president, Gabriel Lamas, has been consistently executing on his targets, embodying the high-performance work culture at Hive." So congrats to those guys there. It's nice that they're gaining market share on some of the other miners that are not growing. And as you guys know, in the past, I have been dogging them a little bit because of their lack of growth. We're finally getting the growth, and I love seeing it. So hopefully this stock does much better for you guys, especially the ones that are in it. As you guys know, I did hold on to Hive from 2017, 2018, all the way through. I think I sold in 2023 because I saw the miners growing much, much faster into the years ahead. Hive, not so much, so I sold out at that point. Okay. But yeah, happy to see this current growth happening right now. All right, so there's that. Let's get into the miners. Let's not do that. Let's do the shorted here. We'll do the shorted first. So I updated this today. This is the latest shorted data that we have on the miners. And there are some changes. We have some miners that are actually having shorts go lower on them. So basically leaving them, maybe going long. And then we have some miners that have actually saw an increase in the number of shorts for them. And this is basically from 2 weeks ago. So it's relatively new data here that we have. The prior data was about 2 weeks old. So what we have here is current number of shares shorted. Marathon right now has the most shares shorted, 94 million, followed by Riot, 84, and then Cleanspark now at 75 million. Bitfarms at 52, Core at 46, Cypher at 33, IREN at 30, BitDeer at 23, Hut 8 at 14, and Hive only at 10 million shares shorted. Percentage of average floated shares shorted there. BitDeer is now the number 1 most shorted company. It's up to 29% of the company there. Marathon's at 27%. Cleanspark is at 27% as well, just a little bit below Marathon. Riot is at 25%. Cleanspark just 2 weeks ago was the most shorted here. It was at like 29, like 3%, something like that. So it's actually come down here. We'll take a look at the numbers here down below. Actually, number of shares shorted changed from last time. So Cleanspark's number of shares shorted went down 11.72 million. Cypher went down also 5 million. Core went down 1.5. Hive went down 1.1. Bitfarms went down just about 500,000 there, and BitDeer went down actually 0.35. While we saw Hut 8 have an increase of shares being shorted there, 1.3 million, Riot 1.35, Marathon 3.49, and IREN actually 4.96 million. So IREN has had, I think, the most increase there. Yeah, showing increase of 19% increase in the shares shorted there for them. Hut 8, 9%, Marathon 3%, Riot 1.6, Bitfarms was down 0.8, BitDeer was down 1.4, Core was down 3.2%, Hive 10.3, Cleanspark down 13, and Cypher was down the most, 14.47% decrease in the number of shares shorted there. And then you can see here on this one, shares shorted value versus market cap. So the market caps are over here. The amount of shares shorted value, how much that is, you can see that as well. And then we got the price change percentage from last week, 12 weeks ago for the miners. Core is up the most, followed by BitDeer, Hut 8, IREN, and Cleanspark. Right, so Cleanspark's being coming down lower here, so that's kind of good. But we're seeing some are having an increase. Like IREN is having a huge increase in the shares shorted. Right, could that be because they've done pretty well here? Core actually has gone down, so those are doing pretty good. Marathon and Cypher and Bitfarms are down in change in stock price over the last 12 weeks on it. And here is the way things have been playing out over the last, what is this, roughly 12 weeks or so for the miners. If we look at them individually here, how have the shorts been going into these guys here? We can see that BitDeer has been kind of increasing over time, over the last 12, 13 weeks, whatever it's been. Bitfarms has been actually coming down on the number of shorts, so those are starting to switch out for them. Cypher was going up, but now it's coming back down as well. Cleanspark, we saw, like I said, 90.7 million here just about a month ago, and it's been coming down after that, so stock has been doing a little bit better. Core, kind of up and down all over the place, but more or less kind of flat here recently over the last 12 weeks. Hive has been increasing, and well, the last update was increased, but then we had a decrease here. So that's been decreasing here at least recently. Hot 8 has been increasing here, as you can see as well, going up. IREN, again, has been increasing. And IREN, maybe the shorts are going in there because of the dilution, the ATM. That's the only thing I can think of. Marathon has also been kind of increasing here on that. So they're actually at the highest level that they've been shorted here, number of shares. And then Riot kind of coming back up a little bit here as well on it. So interesting to see all the data coming in, excuse me, on this. And seeing that we do have more miners that are getting less shorted or decreasing the number of shorts getting into them, the shares shorted there. And then we still have some that are kind of increasing here. So IREN going up 4.96 million and being increase-wise, I think that's because of the ATM. Unless you guys let me know otherwise, I think it's the ATM that's possibly the reason for it, right? Shorts know that they're going to be using on the ATM going forward, so that's going to be putting sell pressure on it, unfortunately. So that's why they're going a little bit higher or a little bit more into IREN right now. But yeah, that is it. That's the latest data we have on the shorts data here. Okay. Next, let's take a look at what happens if Bitcoin goes to 200,000. Where could the miners possibly be here? So I put this out in two different categories. One is 50% profit with a P of 5 to 10. I've actually lowered this down from where we did this probably last time. And I did it also for 70% profit, P of 5 and 10, lowered the P on that as well. And this would be more if they can get there, that'd be great, right? But if we can get to some of these numbers over here, I would be really happy with this outcome. Definitely would be much happier with over here. But if we can get here, which I think is more doable than this, I think we need a lot more FOMO into the miners. We need Bitcoin going up like crazy as well and not having these extended periods of consolidation or going down 20, 30%, because that's what really kills the miners at that point. So I think we can get to these numbers here, that'd be great. But if Bitcoin does go on a nice rally, we might get somewhere in between these numbers here, okay? So here's what we got. Excuse me. Gosh, I'm losing my voice here. It's late. I think that's why. I had to take a sip of my water here, my tea actually. All right, but here's what we got. So Bitfarms currently with 50% profit with a P of 5 and 10. And I should probably show you guys that some of these miners are already at like 60% profit if you just take out electricity, right? Not including SG&A, things like that, but just pure raw profit when it comes to Bitcoin mining and taking out electricity. They are like at 60%, 70% already right now. And if Bitcoin gets even higher, they're going to be even better profit margins. So maybe I should show that to you guys right now before we go through this list here. This here, for example, is, I believe, yeah, I'm using this for example for IREN. So IREN right now is about 17 joules per terahash on the fleet, right? Bitcoin price is 108,000, network hash rate about 880 exahash, daily blocks, block reward roughly, right? All that stuff. Electricity cost, I'm guessing they're around 3 cents something, all right? Somewhere around there. They kind of fluctuate between like 3.1 cents to like 3.4, 3.5 cents, somewhere around there. Still one of the best. They are, I think, the best cost to mine Bitcoin is with IREN here. So this is just for example for them, right? And what does that give them as far as percentage of Bitcoin network hash rate there? How much they can mine daily, your take revenue, so basically their take revenue minus electricity, net income, profit margin, right? So even right now, IREN is at about 77% profit margin, as it is right now, right? They're not getting the love from everybody else, same as probably Cleanspark and everybody else here, but if we look at Cleanspark as another example, they're also at like 16.98 joules per terahash, so roughly 17. I think they're at 42 exahash right now as it is, right? And their cost, I believe, is a little bit higher. I think they are at like 0.04 42 cents, something like that, 42, 45, something like that. They're at 70% as it is right now. Also, right? We saw Hive at I think they're going to be at 20 joules per terahash, or are now at 20 joules per terahash at 10 exahash. Right, they're at 63% profit margin as it is right now on it also. So you can see how these miners are at these levels right now. So now if we increase the Bitcoin price here to 200,000, and maybe we'll increase also the network hash rate to like 950 exahash by the end of the year, they would still be, well, Hive would be at 79%, okay? So there's that. If we look at Cleanspark and IREN, if we look at those guys, right, say that they stay at the same levels as they are right now, Cleanspark would be at 82% profit margin at that point, and IREN would be at 87% profit margin, right? So you can see how that all plays out into it, where these guys will be definitely making a heck of a lot more as time progresses and as Bitcoin gets closer to 200,000, depending where the network hash rate goes. But you can see that they're already doing pretty good here, just taking out the electricity costs. So based on this is kind of where I'm looking at things, right? I'm thinking that I think this is more doable. This would be great if things go parabolic and we get a bunch of FOMO into the miners and Bitcoin as well. All right, so Bitfarms, somewhere between 314 and 628. I think is definitely doable for them. This, if Bitcoin gets to 200,000. Cypher between 339 and 677. Core between 464 and 928. Core's already at 1078. I think they're getting more priced in for their HPCI business with Core Weave there. So this is just based on their Bitcoin mining. Hive would be between 498 and 996. BitDeer between 587 and 1174. They're already at 1430. I think they're getting more priced in for their future hash rate growth, which is going to get them to 40 exahash by the end of the year, plus HPCI potential. I think that's what they're being priced in at. So you can maybe look at the higher part of it. But again, this does not include HPCI revenue potential there, or their future hash rate growth also, really. Just kind of where they are right now. Hut 8 between 831 and 1662. They're at 1554. They seem pretty fairly valued there. Riot between 878 and 1757. They're at $8.38 right now, so they should be higher. Cleanspark between $14 and $28. They're at $9. Marathon between 15.16 and 30.32. They're at $14.86. And then IREN between 16.60 and 33. They're at 8.86. Definitely way undervalued here. So this, I feel pretty comfortable with them getting to these figures here. These, again, like I said, these figures would be pure FOMO into Bitcoin, into miners as well. Bitcoin goes up for a number of months, potentially, and not having a 30% drawdown and an accumulation phase where it goes sideways for 3, 4, 5 months, which at that point the miners get demolished, going down 67%, at least what we've seen here recently. So if we have a repeat of a prior cycle where Bitcoin just goes up nicely over the next 6 months or something like that, with maybe slight correction here and there, a couple percentage points, 5, 10 percentage points, something like that, we might end up seeing something like this happening. So this would be on the other side of things. Bitfarms at 440 to 879, Cypher 474 to 948, Core 649 to 1299, Hive 697 to 1395, BitDeer 822 to 1644, Hut 8 1163 to 2326, Riot 1230 to 2459, Cleanspark 1967 to $39, Marathon 21 to $42 basically, IREN 23 to $46. And that's taking into account obviously where their shares are right now. If they dilute more, things might come down. Like for IREN, right? We know they're going to be diluting potentially. So this is probably the most optimistic view. This is probably the more realistic view here, based on what we've seen here at least last year. But again, like I said, if we get a nice FOMO event happening in Bitcoin and then follows into the miners as well, shorts cover on these guys as well, going long on them, we could see them getting up to these levels and potentially even higher. Potentially. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying there's always a potential for a couple of these guys to way outperform their peers, and we'll see who that is. All right? Let me know what you guys think of this. Just kind of my thoughts as far as where things could possibly be. It's definitely tempered down from where I was just about a year ago on these guys, and it's mainly because of the events that have happened here in the last year. So I think that those are still really good numbers. A lot of probably a lot of cases, probably like a 4x, 5x on some of these guys still have potential, but we'll see. All right. So I'll get this updated to you guys for the Patreon members tomorrow. A link for membership there is in the description if you want to join there, help support the channel. Greatly appreciate all the Patreon members and YouTube members as well for allowing me to do this. And yeah, thank you. Okay, that's it. Let's get into Q&A here, and you might be able to get this done and over with here rather quickly today. Maybe. We'll see how many questions we got and everything else. All right, let's get into it here. Q&A. Also updated the chart here for you guys, as you can see. It's now on a daily chart, and you can see the last basically couple of days here on it, and I think the candles are 15-minute candles here, so that was a recommendation by a viewer yesterday. So this is what we got now. Hopefully you guys can see that pretty well. And Bitcoin is up, well, just a little bit, $119 right now. All right, questions. If you could preface the question with a question mark, greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to scroll up and work my way out, or work my way down, actually. All right, let's see what we got here. No. Okay. So Gary says, IREN may be going up because they are in process of becoming a U.S. miner on July 1st. They are starting to get more U.S. institutions as well. That could be it. But yeah, I mean, so you think that's why they're kind of shorting them more? That could be it. I think it's also the ATM. I could be wrong on that. All right. If you had 100,000, which miner would you allocate to? I would probably, to be honest, it still probably would be Cleanspark, IREN, and then possibly Mara. I think Cleanspark with the no dilution happening this year, I think that one might pop, but we'll see. Yeah. All right. Which miner is the most undervalued, I guess you're asking there? Right now, that would be Bitfarms, I think, based on the enterprise metrics here. Yeah, Bitfarms. Bitfarms showing to me like it's the most undervalued here at 23 and 26 million for future hash rate and current hash rate. So that one, along with Hive, definitely appear to be the most undervalued there right now. And then you got the other ones not too far away from that as well, being much larger size and everything else. All right, so I wonder if we should probably do that. Well, we're looking at the current hash rate anyways as it is right now. So yeah. That's the way I see things, at least right now. Okay. Let's see. Talked about that one already. All right. Abdel says, yes, it's free to dream. Why not BTC at 200,000? But the miners just made these prices. I think if invest in nothing, you can earn more. Why you don't want to switch to other stocks? You are fan of miners lover. I do love the miners because, you know, I thought the miners were going to do the same thing like they did last cycle, which they did really, really good last cycle. This cycle they did okay. It's not great, but we're still not at the end of the cycle. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the miners still wake up later on this year and do really well. So we'll see. All right. See, Trader says, so in your best scenario, Riot should make 25 if they reach 70% profit compared to 46 and 80 from previous cycles. So this means this won't be a good cycle. Well, depending when you got into it, it'll still be a good cycle. If you got in much lower pricing when they were like $5 and $4, you're still going to be doing great, right? But the other part of it is the dilution, obviously, that happened. So even if the stock is at $25, $28, whatever it's going to be, possibly where it maxes out at, it could go even higher. I'm just being more conservative, right? Going with lower P's and everything else. But it could go higher. But even at that point, the market cap is going to be much, much larger than they were last cycle, right? All right. Let's see, question in your calculation for miner priced estimates, you have just added how much they make, but nothing from HODL value. Would that be right? That is correct. Yeah, nothing HODL, nothing from HPCI or anything like that. It's just what they make, where I think they could possibly be based on that. Right? If you add in HODL to it as well for like Mara, Cleanspark, Riot, they could possibly go up even higher at that point. So it's being conservative. It's being very, very conservative on the number there. All right. Jordan says, at this point, it's probably safer to get BTC instead of the miners with that kind of money. You should own both, I think. But that's each individual choice there. Okay. Abdel says, this cycle of miners, it's clear BTC go up, miners hodl their price, then go a little up and the time close to having, so they made aggressive dilution, and so one something, not sure. Okay. Which is the most undervalued stock and will have the most upside this year if you have to pick one? Well, I mean, I think Bitfarms and Hive are the most undervalued right now for what they currently have as far as in their growth potential. I still think that Cleanspark is way undervalued. IREN is still way undervalued. I think it's going to be a toss-up between those guys as far as who has the most upside potential. All right. Cleanspark's not diluting this year. That should be a big benefit to them. They're still growing to possibly like 55, 65, 70 exahash later on this year. Don't know exactly where, but they do have growth plans still. They're a pure play miner. They have a pretty sizable hodl position as well. And then IREN's going to be growing 50 exahash by the end of June. Right, so they still have quite a bit of growth there, about 10 exahash of growth. And they're trying to get HPCI. If they get an HPCI deal with somebody or something like that, it's a good deal. That stock is going to rocket as well. So it's kind of hard. And then you got also Mara. Mara's, mining a bunch of blocks this month. They could do very well also. They have a huge, biggest hodl position out of all the miners. So it's just who gets the most love out of the street and out of retail investors. All right. Andrea, fantastic information. Please hit the like button for Sebastian. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Question from your price chart. It looks like Bitfarms is the most best performing stock from here. It possibly could be if it gets the love, right? Also, does it get an HPC ID or something like that? But yeah, it does seem like they're the most undervalued right now. Said Bitfarms is over. It might be it's going to have a hard time also because Riot is going to be selling their shares there. So keep that in mind as well. That could hamper their growth and price appreciation for the stock price. Omar says, kind of feel like market makers are waiting for interest rate cuts or trade deals. Would you agree, or something else too? Adoption is way too positive to keep us at this level this long. Yeah, I think they're playing both sides of it, actually. I think the market makers are trying to keep things not from going too high up. But then you also have all this adoption with companies, like now we got GameStop buying it, you got other companies buying it as well. You probably have nation states buying it as well that we don't know about. So I think it's just a matter of supply and demand. I think eventually, we know the supply is dwindling on exchanges and on OTC desks. It's just a matter of time before things really do start to rocket up. I mean, we're still doing really good. Bitcoin's 108,000, but the miners, that's another story. So do we need miners to be, or do the miners need Bitcoin to be at like 150,000? Maybe for them to pop. But they do pop on some days and then they go down on other days. So I think it's just a bunch of shenanigans happening by the market makers, unfortunately. Eventually we'll see where things end up at. The question, are you buying CLSKW? I am not. I'm not buying the warrants there from them. I don't buy any warrants. Let's see. Mark says, what if scam miners are in 60% profit, yet their stock is going down? Well, remember, this is profit based on just the cost to mine Bitcoin for electricity. Right? It doesn't include SG&A, doesn't include any other overhead costs, and it doesn't include like depreciation and all that stuff. Right? So this is just looking at those figures there. Let's see. In hindsight, do you ever regret investing in the miners instead of just going all in on BTC? Well, I own both. I own Bitcoin and I own quite a lot of Cleanspark, IREN, and Bitfarms, and Mara as well. And I'm in the green on 3 of the miners at least. I'm green on, way green on Cleanspark. I'm nicely up on IREN now. Mara as well. Bitfarms is the only one that I'm down, but I sold Bitfarms when I was in profits a couple months ago. So I'm still doing really good. Did I think the miners were going to do better? Yes, but again, I'm saying that the cycle is not over yet for Bitcoin. So we'll see more where they end up at the end of like October, November, December of this year, and we'll see where the miners are at that point and see where Bitcoin's at. So I'm still being patient with where I've allocated my funds at. Let's see. Omar has got a question here. If we start pumping in Q4 December, how long would you let it pump before taking significant profit? Of course, DCA out, but large sale blocks, when they pump, they really pump. Yeah, last second when the miners pumped, they pumped hard, right? They front ran Bitcoin by, about a week, I think it was, a week or 2 weeks before Bitcoin actually peaked. So, yeah, definitely probably try to sell much earlier. So, I mean, if you're up nicely, 200%, 300%, whatever it might be, 400%, start taking, positions out at that point. It's kind of what I would try to do. Okay, question. I guess this cycle will go till June 2026. What if it goes on much longer? What if it's an extended cycle and goes on for, until 2028 and beyond? What if Bitcoin just corrects every once in a while, this 30% correction like we've seen here beginning of the year to April, right? That was about 4 months of correction. We saw that also last year when Bitcoin peaked at 72,000 before the halving event, and then it went down for like 4 or 5 months, corrected 30% again, and then we went up much higher after that. So could we be just in that kind of cycle now? It could be a completely different cycle than what we've seen in the past, but we shall see. Dad, question. Hey, Seb, thanks for all the hard work. Great stream. What are your thoughts on the concept that unlike previous years, the liquidity has gone to other investments options rather than the miners? They've definitely, you definitely have more avenues for investment in them, in other proxies, I guess you could say. Right, MicroStrategy, you got now MetaPlanet, you got also similar industries, I think, or similar, whatever it is. Medical group there. You also have the ETFs for Bitcoin, right? You also have the ETFs for the miners as well. So there's a lot more vehicles for people to invest in. Has it become more diluted? Possibly. That's also an avenue there, but we also have. But then again, if you look at the institutions buying into these miners, institutions are buying more into the miners than any time before. And that continues to increase here month after month, even with the Bitcoin miners going down. So do they know something that we don't know? I like to think so, that eventually they maybe switch to long instead of going short on these guys as a hedge. Well, I don't know. I think that's going to be the case, but we'll see. All right. Ran Roth, thanks for the updating the chart to a daily view from me and Marina. You're very welcome. Yeah. I always take your guys' input, right? And if I can make changes and I can do it, always love to do that. Hello, Sub. Are tariffs gone for now? Thanks. I don't think they're gone. I mean, tariffs are still in place. They are still talking about them. We haven't heard too many deals being made in the background. So when do the tariffs go back into effect? Like July? Right, so they're still on the table. They're not going away yet. Let's see. Sean says, my ride close is $7.89. I hope it goes up in June. Okay, should, as long as Bitcoin goes up. Thanks, Sub, liked as well. Greatly appreciated. And let's see, what's the institutional investment in Bitfarms? The institutional investment in Bitfarms, we can take a look at that. The numbers on them, at least. I tracked that as well. Bitfarms, that did, let's see here. The percentage actually decreased, but the number of shares and institutions increased here. So take a look at this. This is as of 5/1, so beginning of the month here. We had 226 institutions. Shares was at that point 141.8 million, but percentage went down to 27.25. That is a result of dilution, I believe, because of the Stronghold acquisition. Right, but we still have 6 strong buy ratings, 2 buy ratings. Analysts are looking at $4.50 for the high, $2 for the low. That kind of is on the lower end, I think, for where I see things possibly getting to as well. If you look at 200 for Bitfarms, 3, okay, I'm a little bit higher here on the lower end side of things. But if we look at the current revenue, right, I'm between $3 and $4.50, so that's kind of where we're at. I should probably use the 15, which I use for other ones. So 375 to 563, pretty close to where the analysts are looking at. So we'll see if they can get there along with the other companies. Can they get to these kind of analyst targets? I think they should, based on Bitcoin going up in value and them making and generating a heck of a lot more revenue and better profit margins as well. Should pump the stocks up higher. But we'll see if the shenanigans with the market makers cool off or not. And they let these guys actually run for once. All right, talked about that. See, Dynamite says, federal court blocks all Trump tariffs. Breaking news after hours, futures are green. Okay, federal court that wasn't the Supreme Court, though, I'm guessing. So it's probably going to be taken up to the Supreme Court. And I did see something about that, but I thought it was like the international court or something like that for it. But I could be wrong there. It's just me has a question here. When BTC starts to fall, all the companies that are following MicroStrategy are going to start dumping, which might cause chaos. I wouldn't say it would cause chaos. I mean, Bitcoin already came down 30% from January and into April, right? And we didn't see that much of a chaos. Yes, MicroStrategy went down quite a bit. Miners went down quite a bit as well. But there wasn't this chaos. It's just we had an extended period of accumulation, basically, for Bitcoin and going down lower, which is the second time it's happened. Last time it happened was last year as well, right? Different cycle mechanics at work here. Last cycle, we had Bitcoin go up like crazy and then correct 30% within a number of days, not a number of months. So it's totally different already as it is. But yeah, I think it would be chaos if Bitcoin was to fall like 50, 70% again, like we had in prior cycles, where I do not see that happening here going forward. Not with the amount of institutions that are getting into it, companies, everything else. I just do not see Bitcoin falling that much ever again, unless there is a complete and total market crash or something like that. But that's just me. All right, that is it. We're going on a little bit over 40 minutes or so. I think we're going to call it a day. I cut up to all you guys' questions here. I got one more from Todd coming in here as well. All right, and do you think Bitfarms could hit 125 BTC hits 200,000? I would seriously hope so that at that point they could get to $1.25 at least, at the very low end. Let's see, comic relief for a long-term holder. I've been holding for a long time as well. I got disappointed last year with their announcements of prolonged growth or targets getting pushed back and then getting reduced as well. Wasn't happy about that. All right, but that's it, guys and gals. Thank you so much for coming in here. We'll talk about whatever happens tomorrow on Thursday, see where the markets go. And, I mean, Bitcoin's just holding it steady right now. We'll see where things go from there. All right, really appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for coming in this late of an hour. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you all. Until then, bye.